What if you're in charge of implementing a new process or a strategy or even a piece of technology into your business? You're the one who's going to lead the charge. Well, how are you going to overcome some of the obstacles or the pushback from your team? Leadership may think it's a great idea, but what if your team is hesitant and doesn't understand why we're making this change? It's not always easy. So let me throw another thing on top of not just maybe a strategy change, but what if this is a philosophical change, an evolution of the sales process? For years, we've used phones, we've used emails, we're now texting at a much higher rate, but video conversations is still an untapped strategy. So if you're being tasked with getting your team to make more videos, have more ongoing videos, maybe you're creating some videos to explain your product or service, how do you do that? Make them effective? Well, today I brought in a video expert. Steve Roessler is the Chief Evangelist Officer of DriveCentric. It's an automotive CRM company, but it differentiates its technology through the use of video. He is an advocate for video. He's built his career, his company on the use of video. Everyone knows who he is. Why? Because of his videos. So he's going to talk about that today, how you can leverage video correctly to make sure that your customers understand who you are, get a sense of your integrity, your character, and more importantly, want to do business with you. So let's dive into today's episode of You're in Charge: Conversations That Spark Change with Steve Roessler. All right. So Steve, thanks so much for being here today. One of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you and your company do a lot of really changing structures and changing philosophies of how sales organizations, in this case, automotive, handle their sales opportunities. So the not so much the product, we can talk about that in a moment, but more the fact of here you come in and you say, we're switching. We're switching technology, we're switching thought process, we're giving you more tools to be able to maximize your performance. What I wanted to pick your brain about today is, what obstacles do you face when you're the one coming in trying to change? What are you hearing? And then giving some tactical tips to the people who are listening to say, yeah, I'm in that situation. I have to change X, Y, and Z. How do I get past those obstacles? So what would you say to that?
Yeah, look, anytime we're talking about just CRM and changing, I mean, we all know in the industry, like changing CRM and DMS, obviously those are big changes to any organization and dealership that they got to make a careful decision. When we're going out there and pitching, what we're doing is it is a culture change. Let's face it, we are going out there and we are teaching dealerships that want to be progressive is the way I would like to look at it. Not saying like all these dealerships that don't come on Drive are not progressive. It's just a matter of what tools do they feel like it's going to take them into the next 2022. And, right. With us, we're going out there with this modern technology that our engineers, developers, everybody that built DriveCentric, we just have a very forward thinking team, and the software is so, diverse or techie, I guess. I'm not a developer, obviously, just by saying that, but we go out there and find the tools. We talk to our dealers that are modern and say, what do you guys want to do? And then we take those messages and we're trying to help these other dealerships try to understand how they can better talk to customers. I think the transformation we're going out there doing a great job with is kind of thinking of CRM much differently. I mean, we almost don't like to say the CRM, but that's the foundation of what it is. Because Glenn, every CRM is known as a data management tool. Right. What we're talking about with digital retailing, in DriveCentric, that is digital retailing is actually done within your CRM with all the engagement management tools you invest in. It can't just be numbers on the website. Digital retailing, the way we're defining it, is the customer wants to do a part of the process remotely. So when we're going out there talking to dealerships, we have to acknowledge the fact that these customers, they don't want to come in the dealership. The up bus isn't coming in. How are you going to get these customers to come in your store, Mr. Dealer? And it's
Right.
all going to focus around engagement. And that's what we're going out there and we're making it as a priority is let's engage these customers. Let's, the customers are buying car now faster than ever. According to our data, it's like 70% of the customers that are buying right now are buying in the first 4 days. Do we
Right.
really need templates in 4 days? Get me out of the template mode, will you? That's the easy button. And if we're following up 90 days, great. But we're trying to also refocus dealers on the meat and potatoes where customers are buying and converting. And that's, so when we get the business leaders thinking in terms of that and saying, hey, is the CRM I'm currently on going to take me to the next 3 years? You got to make that decision. And it's a long decision. Let's be real. I mean, it's everybody's got to get bought in. And that's what we do a really good job is not just the leadership team making the decision, but obviously BDC, desk managers. Are the salespeople going to use it? And I think that's what we do a great job on in converting them.
Right. All right. So there's a lot in there that I want to really maybe tactically break down a little bit. So I agree. For all of you who are not in automotive and you're in another business, you all know that every business has some lead management system. So it's your customer relationship management tool, CRM, or your database, however you're doing it. To your point, Steve, there are two camps. There's the pre-programmed, we just send out our messages to check the box. And then the other one is driven to basically be talking about how many conversations, how many people are you really talking to? And you can't do that from that just press a button and hope they raise their hand. So for that, again, someone sitting in that leadership chair, they have to go and talk to their team and say, we are changing how we have done business for X period of time, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is. What are some of the pushbacks that you've been in these meetings or you've had people push back and question, why are we changing? What are some of the objections you've heard to this change and what's your response?
Yeah, the biggest objection we get is obviously just, my guys aren't using the tool today, so they won't use it, even if it's your tool, Steve. Right. That's the number one. I mean, or there may be some things that are the data loss, right? I'm worried about data. I mean, so those are probably the two biggest things that we get. And I would probably say is they're worried more about the data loss. So the objection, to overcome that is like, if you're going to make a CRM change, and it doesn't matter. I mean, we do the best we can with getting the data to import that and put everything in so it stays the same. And if anything, we're committed to fix it. Right. And that's the thing. So we scrub the data with the DMS, with the CRM stuff, but all the notes, if we get all the information from the previous CRM provider, that comes in. When it comes to, somebody's got to be responsible too, right? Somebody's going to be responsible for the change. So that's going to be a heavy lift for somebody. If you got like 10 stores, somebody's going to be launching 10 stores for a while, right? And getting them all bought in. So those are the two big objections that I would think a lot of people, when they are making a big decision like CRM. But as a company, we go out there, we offer training, we do a lot of things to get the salespeople bought in. We do video training. What if you're going to start doing personalized video, what are other people doing in the industry on video? And that's typically what happens. But if the salespeople look at the app and say, yeah, I would use this app, then they're bought in, they're committed. And I mean, that's the one thing. We get that objection all the time, but just on the mobile app, we had a 91% usage rate on our mobile app, and we're proud of it. And that's even with the head trash of dealers saying, well, my guys don't use the mobile app today. Well, that's because it was built 20 years ago. So nobody has a flip phone anymore. They have a smartphone, so those are the analogies we go out there and kind of leverage, because if you get a modern tool, people use modern technology. It's just the way it is. So those are the two biggest ones we get.
Yeah. And what I liked about what you just said, one of the things that I want to make sure the audience grabs onto is there has to be a champion in the store, right? I know you said 10, but let's just focus on one, because in that day-to-day, we have to present the why to the people who are going to switch this technology. It can't just be, oh, an owner went somewhere, met you, liked what your product said, and then all of a sudden we come in and we have a new toy and we just drop it on our desk and say, I'll see you, versus really mapping this out and really breaking down what still stays the same, what's changing. Like you said, how do we use this technology? But more importantly, how is it going to make my job as a user easier? And I think that sometimes is where there's a breakdown. We just either start off with some really great initial training and then everybody's left to figure it out, or they don't really work all the way through. I think that's, to your point earlier, why people don't use something. They don't see the benefit of it. And so by making it newer, or as you said, user friendly, why wouldn't you want to use something that you seem used to using every single day by, punching an app on your phone?
Yeah. And one of the things I'll point out that, depending upon, who's converting, and I would say this for anybody in sales, because, I've been in other industries, and I'll give you an analogy when I say this, but one of the things we do, at least with our company today, is we always offer, hey, do you want to go visit a dealership and see it in action? So if I'm in automotive and I have a centralized BDC, I kind of want to see how a centralized BDC operates. If I have a single point of contact, that everybody's doing start to finish, even F&I at single point, let's have you go visit a store that's doing that. Or if you're doing cradle to grave. But that was the same practice I did in the medical industry. If I had a doctor that, was going to be leveraging, when I worked at Medtronic, and they want to see how the procedure would work, I would send them to a whole nother state, right? And they would go in and watch another doctor implant the device that I was promoting to see their technique, how they handle that. And that's something you could really help in the sales process to help overcome the objection or the fear of change. Go show a power or take them to a power user of whatever it is that you're going out there selling. And for us, obviously being CRM, see it in action and make the decision. But you also want, as a salesperson, we have to mirror their business the way they do business so they can envision it at their store. And that helps overcome that objection of converting too.
No, and see, I like that idea of showing. I'm a big fan of when you're training, you show. So in this case, bringing someone to another organization, another dealership that's using the technology, they can ask the questions of, how did you install? Where were your struggles? Where did you get compliance from your team? When did they all buy in? How long? Because sometimes when we're implementing things, especially change in any form, we think it's going to happen faster than it is, right? And then we get frustrated. It does take time. There's probably, I'll call it maybe chapters of learning, of initial learning, then using it, taking a step back. What did we tweak? And the other aspect I liked about that showing is someone that goes back to that advocate owner, quote unquote, owner of the project in the dealership is responsible to be able to go in and show them how to use it and coach them how to use it versus letting them try to figure it out on their own.
100%. The one thing I'll just tell you, like I always tell every, in any sales job is I don't want anybody, if you're coming on board and I'm selling you whatever it is I'm selling, in this case, CRM, I do not want you to reinvent the wheel. The best part about what I sell is it is something that's so drastically different that dealerships are going to alter their overall operations, and it for the better, for the modern customer, for the modern dealership. So it's a dramatic change. And to go through that type of change, we are always like, hey, do you want to go visit a dealership? Or better yet, even, no matter what you sell, maybe they come to your corporate location. One of the things that I'll tell you that we did, at least in the medical side, because I was in the medical for 16 years, there was a term called vendor validation. And there's nothing, at least in really automotive, that talks about vendor validation. But, when a hospital or a doctor, usually they would go visit a facility to make sure that, hey, that product, that service, whatever it was that I was selling was good enough to be put in my hospital, that I did my due diligence. I checked out that it was, ISO, whatever, umpty 9000 compliant, whatever it was, you know what I mean? So those are things that help steer a decision in your favor, no doubt.
Well, what I like about that too is it seems like you're so confident in your product, you're showing someone it using it versus trying to close them down right then and there. I think that's also a great sales tip for anyone who's selling, is allowing someone to embrace the process. We do the same for our agency. We'll connect them with people that use us, not just the one or two that are your show clients, so to speak. Said, here's a list, call any of them. But I like the fact of encouraging someone to see it in use, because that, I think, is something that we don't do enough of, is analyzing when we're making a change, what really is changing. I think there are times where everyone is so fearful of change because they think everything's going to change. And in your case, the process may not be changing. It's the technology that's changing. You're still following whatever your process is to, your sales process, engagement process. We have a new technology now. We may adapt and replace a step, or in your case, you have all of the technology housed in one location. So it's not, I have to go over here, run for a video app on my phone for here, and I have to, text off of something else. But that doesn't change the process of, we're sending videos, we're texting, we're emailing, we're making phone calls, we're documenting our conversations. The technology is different versus that whole idea of, well, everything's changing and the way I do things, it's not going to work.
Well, the other thing too that the customer is committing to if they go visit is, number one, they're probably thinking about the change methodically. So if they schedule an on-site visit, that gives them a time to prepare, think about the questions that are going to be asked. But it's going to be very important for anybody in sales that you actually pick the right place to visit. I mean, that they are a big proponent, a huge fan. The way we go out there and do it is, I could go out there and give a dealership a name of somebody that's been on, like, our company, DriveCentric, for 3 years. We're trying to find people and mirror people up that maybe been on for like 3 or 6 months, kind of like in that window. So they still remember the launch, you know what I mean? Because it's fresh and it's modern, and they could talk about, hey, this is what I changed. And we built all these new reportings, and these are new pay plans, and whatever it may be. I think it's fun to kind of think about that for a dealership, but I'm sure I say it's fun, but it's probably scary for them. But if you have people out there that are going to champion your product or your service, it makes it a lot easier for the switchover, because there's things that they don't have to think about. 6 months down the road, once they implement, let's say, a brand new CRM, why didn't you tell me that, Steve? Well, right. I should have, you know what I mean?
That goes back to what we were mentioning earlier about these, I called them chapters. Chapters of installation. There's the initial wow of the product or the bud, but then once maybe a month or two in, where the newness of the product or the idea that we have a new piece of technology, now we're into the day-to-day and what's working, what's not working, what do we have to tweak. But to your point, is having this whole checklist of other things you may have to address, not just this technology, but does this affect pay plans? Does this speed up our process? Does this communicate to all the other departments? I always call it the octopus. Wherever you change one thing in any organization, there are tentacles that touch other departments, and have you thought them all through? I think that's where having the right vendor partner who can guide you, at least give you a list to say, here are some things you maybe need to look at down the road, because most of my clients have done that. And then I like the fact also of partnering them up with someone that's maybe a little further down, 2 or 3 chapters into the book, versus someone who's completed it and forgot about it, and they can't remember back to that initial struggle potentially of changing behavior.
Yeah. Oh, they got to be able to relate. And that's why I think the customer had switched over 3 to 6 months ago, whether it's a site visit or they talk them through. Selling a software, a lot of times you can do this all virtually, but sometimes they just want to see our salespeople embracing it for what we're doing. But yeah, I will tell you, just we're all visual learners, I think, more so than anything. I can only imagine. I mean, I know with Brian Pasha's the AWA Awards, having the book, nobody reads, right? It's all got to be done digitally now. I remember him saying that like 2 years ago, and I learn so much better with video, and I think there's a lot more visual and audio learners obviously out there. So if you send them a brochure, I don't know, what can you get out of a brochure than seeing it in action?
Right. Well, I think you have to prepare yourself. And this is a great tip for organizations to what Steve's saying is, I think you have to understand all three. There are people that can read a book, follow the manual, and they can get up to speed. Other people need to watch it on a video, pause it, do it. Another person needs somebody there with them to coach them. You have to make that type of training available for all of them. So let me pivot, because there's something you said, and I want to get your take on this. So, we've installed and we've trained and you've mirrored everything like that. But you keep talking about the customer of today, this new idea of communication and connecting with the consumer today. And we have to do it in different ways. And one of the things that you have advocated, probably since I met you, is this idea of video, right? Texting is great. People answer their texts, but there's something about video that connects on an emotional level. So talk to me about this idea of video. Like when you say communicate through video, what exactly do you mean?
Yeah, when I define the communication through video, I think what many people will do is I'll do a video that's just a one and done. And, that's not what I mean. I mean, very simple terms, if I'm going to write an email, just make it a video. It doesn't matter. Video can be done all throughout the sales process and then post-sales process. Even if a customer is not buying from me, I will still send them a video. So it's just a matter if I'm thinking about it. I don't want to type it. I'd rather say it. So look, 100% of the communication we do is in person, right? You got tonality, you got words. When I type up that email, I'm only communicating at 7% of my capacity. And I'll tell you what, I'm better than that. But when I get people on the phone, tonality is 38%, and then 55% is body language. So if, with COVID and all these things that are going on and people are doing things virtually, we're enhancing how we sell as individuals. And you have to be able to, if I can't get there, if I can give a message, like if I'm selling a complicated product, maybe I'm going to show them something, do a loom. We have people that are doing product features and showing how people do things. Obviously we have Zoom, that's, video as well. Right. That's being right there. The timing is doing what we call live rooms. But if I'm going to send a personalized video, think of it as like a voicemail recording. That's the way I look at it. I want to give somebody a message, but it's going to be a video, not something that's on somebody's recording. So I'm going to send you a video and I'm going to tell you what you need to do if you're coming into my store, what you need to bring, for example. Maybe it's a birthday video, but the idea is as my communication, I don't want that communication misinterpreted. So I'm going to make sure you as a customer are going to watch and listen to my video. So nothing's taken out of context.
Right. Okay. So I got it. I really like that. There's two parts that I really like. Just to keep it simple for everyone who's listening, if you're in charge of a team of salespeople or you're a salesperson, you're in charge of your own work, that concept of if you would type it into an email, record it as a video, it's going to have more depth, right? If I leave a voicemail, they can't see me. If I text them, yes, a high percentage are going to open that. But what the other part I liked is it's open to misunderstanding. They can't hear my passion. They can't see how excited. I can't show them. I can show them a picture of a car or a video, but I'm talking. So there's so many ways to leverage video. I think more people. Well, let me ask you, why do people push back on not doing video? Is it just something that's new and we haven't really embraced it yet? Or is it fear? Or is it, to your point, one and done?
It could be, it's usually fear. I mean, I would say that. I mean, you try to get salespeople who want to do video. They don't, whether it's that fear of like, oh, it's going to be put on Facebook or YouTube. And we're talking about one-to-one communication. I mean, that's the one thing. So if you're doing a Zoom meeting, like what you and I are doing, you shouldn't be scared, right? I would tell you, like, if you're trying to teach somebody what to do, and you're trying to send an email, and like what we do sometimes is we'll take snapshots, right? And you're putting in the email, and somebody's got to read the email, what you're trying to point out. If you did something like Loom and say, you see how this is, and you're recording your screen, and you can literally tell them what to identify, they're hearing your tone. It's not like you're telling them they suck. Right. When you read email and you're trying to coach them up, they may be saying, dude, quit insulting my team. We're doing the best we can. Right. And so with your Loom, you can, they can feel that empathy, maybe. Hey, it's okay. You're not sending as many videos, whatever it may be. But that's what it is. It's fear. And it could be that they don't know how to do it. So people got to coach them through something like Loom or doing a personalized video. But also, I think, too, is people got to see examples of video. When we go out and teach stores on how to do personalized video, for example, in the car business, they got to see what other stores are doing. There's not really a repository of videos of, hey, this is a walk around video. Here's a confirm appointment video. Here's a birthday video. Here's a co-buyer video. Here's, people want to see what other stores are doing to collect ideas. It's the reason why I like TikTok. The one thing, like, I literally just got on TikTok, and one of the things that people can do on TikTok is what? You go out there and you find the trends, and it starts noodling ideas, right? On how I could do a TikTok video. That's the same thing that I think is what we all need, because that's why I watch TikTok. Is I'm like, okay, what is this guy doing? Or what is this gal doing? How can I do that? How can I put a spin on it? And if you kind of think about it, I'm literally have never said that before, Glenn. But that right there is a great way to kind of think about video, and with TikTok, a good analogy.
Right. Well, so the other piece of that I like about video, I had a guest on a few episodes back. His name is Josh Little, and he created an app called Volley. So what he does for businesses is, instead of calling somebody or even doing a Zoom, his thought was, as you and I are both talking, you're hearing and formulating your next question at the same time. So by taking time to create a video, it can be more thoughtful. It can be a better communication, right? If I don't like what I said, I can record it, re-record it, right? How many times have we said something live and say, oh, I didn't explain it well enough, or I wrote something, they just didn't understand what I wanted. But by recording the video, whatever it is, a birthday greeting, here's the information, I can look at it and go, yes, I like that. I send it out. The person can consume it without having to worry that I have to respond. I can consume the video, watch it. Then if I want to return the video, right, now I can record my response, but it can be a thoughtful response versus how many times have we sent something or answered something, say, if I had 2 seconds, 10 seconds, a minute, if I slowed down for just a second, I probably would have answered that better. And I think in what you're saying, as a salesperson, it's very complex to sell this product called a car. And someone's overwhelmed. And the more you can walk them through and they can hear your voice, they build that trust up. I think we miss that idea of understanding how much trust can be done over video, because I can see you, I can hear you, I can see what you're doing. So I think that the more that, and it's interesting, let me ask you this. Do you think that younger people, because of what you said, TikTok, they almost are going, emails, why would I read anything? I'd rather watch a video. Why would you call me? I'd rather watch a video. Do you think that's not right?
Oh, no, that's 100% right. I mean, again, will they read an email? I mean, everybody's going to be different, but yeah, when I'm going out there presenting on something like texting or video, I do study, the customers. So like the millennials and Gen Zs, will they read, for example, or will they even listen to voicemail? Right. And the answer is they don't. They don't. You know what I mean? They bypass it, they delete it, whatever. If they don't know the number, they delete it. So, Yeah, I mean, I think every customer is going to be a little bit different on the way they want to learn, but you know, getting somebody to just change their thought process is going to be the challenge on anything, whether it's video. I think if you go out there, like for example, Glenn, and you just kind of think how you're helping your customers. And I'm thinking about this for this, just the average salesperson. If I'm going to like be of value to an account, how am I going to help that account get better so they could maybe help their team get better? Right. And if you did something like a video, and it could be it could be a video like a thought of the week, right? Or whatever it may be. But let's just say I'm showing, like in my case, a CRM. It's going to take me a lot of work to do snippets, type it, all the things. Now, if these are not going to be professional videos, I can say, hey, Glenn, like I'm taking a look here, follow my mouse. I'm pointing to this because this is what you want to be aware of. Tell your managers, that's a lot easier. And I don't have to maybe edit the video or anything else. I just got to tell, hey, I'm sending you a video, watch the video. And I would just tell you, depending upon what you're doing, break it up. So it's not like, a 30-minute video. I would do segments of like 3-minute videos so people can absorb it. So
yes, I think that's another really great tip about video is keeping it short, keeping it to one topic. I'd rather have 5 videos sent to me, each with one topic, versus one long video, because then if I have a question about the topic, I can always go back and find that one topic versus where in that 5-minute video. And then it's not worth it. And I don't want to do it. I agree with you. I think that a lot of people, especially younger, I look at my children, I have 2 boys, I have a 14 and a 16-year-old. The idea of reading emails, they'll do work, they'll read emails from school because they have to catch up, but they don't communicate through email. They don't communicate voicemail. They don't even communicate calling each other, their friends. They text each other. And then to your point is they spend the majority of their time on video, YouTube platforms, TikTok, any of those, Instagram Reels. And when they have a question, they're looking for a video of how to do it. They're not looking for a PDF. They're not going to a book. They're going to YouTube to say, how do I do X? So to your point, if that's the way people are searching, you as a salesperson now are providing that value for your customer to say, here's the vehicle. Here's the process. Here's what you have to bring in when you come. Here's how long it's going to take when you get here. Hey, when you bring your car in for a trade, here's what our process is. Explaining the process, I think that breaks down those barriers. And the more time that they're watching you, the more they start to build that rapport and they go, I think I like this person. They seem like they're helpful versus someone else who's just going to send them an email or leave them a voicemail.
Yeah. And the one thing that I'll just say, I mean, I'll just talk about automotive on this, but I can also talk about medical. But a lot of times what we have to do a better job of in sales, I don't care what you sell, is understand that the customer has probably the resources available through video or YouTube, all these different platforms we got to know maybe more about the product than you do. So as an example, I'll just talk about the medical industry. Every patient, who has a type 2 diabetic child, or you're type 2 diabetic, or you have lower back pain, whatever it may be, whatever, you want to research, there are then forums with patients that are in those forums that can tell you the therapy, the medications, as an example. So you know what happens? You go to your doctor and you tell them what therapy you want. You tell them what medication you want because you heard it in a forum. So everybody is technically a doctor and specialized in whatever it is that they have, right? So now let's just talk about automotive. And that's the one thing that always drove doctors nuts. So any doctors that are on this, that was all for you because they don't like those patients. So now let's talk automotive. I can go out there and learn everything I want about whatever car I want. I know more about the car probably than the salesperson. All that I want is a good buying experience. So let's give customers, especially in automotive, let's just say, credit where credit is due because it's a big purchase. They're researching. They want to know the safety. They want to know how fast it goes, whatever it may be. So all we have to do is kind of really just give the customer a better experience. Make it fast, make it easy.
But to that point, now you just had me thinking about something completely aligned to that is I can go find about the car, right? I can go find about whatever service I want. What I really want, but yet is very hard for me to find, is how you do business, like what your process is, how long is it going to take? What makes you different in terms of your customer experience? They're not advertising that. Everyone leans on the car. And as you said, I can find about the car. That's why I'm interested about the car, because I've done some research about the car, or a friend drove that car, or I used to drive that car. I like that car. Let's not, we can talk about, I want to know what's my price, what can I get done? How fast can you do it, to your point? What's the process going to be like? I think that is something that is woefully missing
totally
in the industry. And I think, to your point, if a salesperson spent time creating videos about that, because we already have a page on the website talking about the car, you could show them and say, hey, here it is. This is the car. But now let me tell you about doing business with me. Here's the process. Here's how long you need to do that. I think that's such a huge opportunity to gain that customer to your business when you start talking to them about how you do business.
Well, everybody has a different way of their perception of customer experience. And I'll just give something as basic. I have a buddy that will pass up 2 subways to go to his 3rd subway to get his cold cut combo, because that subway is cleaner than the other 2. Okay. So again, that's his customer experience, right? I mean, I just think that's always fun. I'm like, dude, it's right there. Let's just
no, but I used to there. Listen,
it's a sandwich.
Yeah, I know, but think about this. There are 2 Home Depots near where I live, and I will drive an extra 10 minutes to go to one, because when I have a question, the employees walk me over to help me make sure I find what I want and answer any questions, versus the other one, they'll say, oh, it's on aisle 34. So I agree with you that there are differences, but to your point, we forget that customers that's what they're looking for. They will drive a little further for the better experience, but you have to advertise it. Now you have to deliver on it, right? But you got to tell them what you do differently. You have to tell them, here's that's where, going back to what you said early in the episode, when you said, you have to help your customers. You have to have conversations with customers. You have to answer what they're looking for. And here's a huge opportunity that you sort of uncovered here in this conversation about, using that video to show them who you are, what your business is, your dealership is, but it's not just the car. It's, here's all the things you need to do to make it easy and faster to have a great experience with us.
Yeah, you're promoting your integrity as well as your character. And those are things when you're in sales, that's what how do you gotta have, if people buy from who they like or visit, who they, like, it's that those are the things that you're going out there doing as the salesperson for wherever you're representing. So what you stand for is who you're going to attract. And we always say it's always built on trust, but to your point, with video, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get a lot of things conveyed subliminally without saying it. And you don't have to go out there and say, and be proud of your character, or talk about your integrity. I mean, that will be absorb. The one thing, like I joke around about this because I didn't shoot a lot of video. I know we're talking a little bit about video. I never shot a video like 20 years ago or 10 years ago or whatever. I just started doing video like literally 7 years ago, and I didn't have it figured out. People are like, oh, you're so charismatic. I mean, I love hearing that, but I just had never really thought of me as charismatic. And I'm just like, wow, but I guess if people see that about me, great, but I'd never thought of it like that, and so if people can be that observant through my videos or talks that I'm doing, and that's awesome, because that's who I am and that's what people are observing. So That's what video can do, is going to give so many subliminal messages to that person, and they're going to get to know you. Or it could be your background. It could be that you have, like, you're a Chiefs fan, you're a Jets fan, you're a Reds fan, whatever it may be. You're opening up your door a little bit so customers can bond with you. If you're a Blues fan, I'll probably bond with you. If you're a Blackhawks fan, well, we'll be going to war, right?
We'll go to
but
war.
I mean, but those are things. Video is just telling about, not, it's all about you and what you're going to be conveying to the customer, and they're going to see if they like you.
No, and I think that's important. It's breaking down that barrier as a salesperson, customer, breaking it down to just say there's two people. We're two people. You're coming to me to get help on X. Reverse is, I may have to come to you to get help on X. You're a business person. You do taxes, and you're coming to me to buy a car. Well, eventually those roles are going to change. I have to come to you to do taxes, but it's all about, we're just people. We have our jobs, our expertise. The key is using video to be able to help expand that. To your point, you are who you are. If you meet you in real life, you are the same energetic person that you are here. Video is just capturing that and allowing people to see it. But, and this is the key for all of the people listening, you've been doing video, as you said. Notice what you say. You didn't say, I did video once 7 years ago. You say, now I do video. So it's this, I see it over time. So going back to one of your first points for salespeople listening, it can't be one and done. One video, people may be intrigued, but I need that second, third, fourth, fifth video to validate what my first impressions were of you. Oh, I like this person, but now you're gone. Where are you? But if I see that same helpfulness, thoughtfulness, experience, expertise, 7 videos, 8 videos, and then I meet you in person, it aligns and it locks, and it just reinforces, I think, to your point, it reinforces that character. What I thought you were, you really are, because I've seen it 7 times. You can't fake it 7 times.
Yeah. And here, I'll just throw this out there. I know it's a little bit off, but I'll bridge it to what you just said there. But let's just say you're going to send an email. You just don't know where that email is going to go, right? And again, the tone of the email. Mm-hmm. But I want you to think, if I send an email that's going to be like coaching, like I would tell you, do a Loom video or do a personalized video, whatever it is, I would always do a video. But if you're going to send that email, how do you start that email, Glenn? You would probably say, please don't take this email out of context. I'm trying to coach you. If you don't do that, you never know how that email is going to start off. But I will tell you, as a professional, I will always say, please don't take this out of context, because I want them to know that I'm trying to help them. If you don't state that, you could be ripping on them. But with video, now I can coach. I can, break down that barrier. They see I'm trying to help them, whatever it may be. But again, if they are going to forward that email, they're going to forward that video. And if that video does go up chain, no matter what you're selling, they're going to see that you're a valuable partner to that organization, so you can retain that business. So that's the way I kind of look at it as well, the power of what video can do to an organization.
No, I think that's great. And just as you're talking, that idea of someone else can watch the video as well. How often have we been at an event, a conference, or in this case, we're talking about sales. Someone comes in, meets a salesperson, goes home and tries to explain to their spouse what that person said. Well, it could be completely different, or it's easier to communicate what they said if I show you the video and say, hey, you can watch this. You can see the conversation we had. Could you record what we just talked about so I could bring it home and show XYZ? I think that also is a benefit of using video, and that is a good tip, I think, for salespeople. If someone's saying I have to go talk to someone else, record the conversation, record what you talked about, take a video of the car that they're looking at and text it to them. What's your number? Let me send this video to you, so that then when you're home, you don't have to memorize it. You can say, here's exactly what they said. And in a way, you can say, you're holding me accountable to it because I just recorded it. There's no, well, that's not really what I said.
Well, yeah, no, if you're going to put it on video, you better make sure you're crystal clear too. That's why, like, when you're doing, let's say you got a proposal, for example, and you're going to do a proposal, let's say on video, and maybe it's going to be a Loom, or maybe you got the sheet in front of you and you can talk about it. You better make sure that proposal is right on the money before you do it. So, I mean, those are the things, but again, you got to have the confidence to do it. You got to make sure everything is right. But I'll tell you what, when you do that stuff, then multiple people can go through it. And, if it's somebody like myself, or let's say I'm showing my wife, I can say, hey, honey, here's the proposal. The guy went through it. What's your thought? Versus just reading. And what am I reading? What am I looking at? So,
well, yeah. And I think that's really huge, because also you try to vouch for someone else's character, but now I can show you the video of them, and that breaks down the barrier. I think that's well. So let's pivot again here, because you just said, your passion and through your journey. So let's walk back. Tell me a little bit about, when I've met you a few years ago, you are who you are right now, meaning very passionate about your product, passionate about sales, passionate about customer experience, and you are just, your energy is not low. All right. So,
well, it may seem like that on this, but anyway.
Well, listen, I'm sure you.
This is a serious talk.
I'm sure you sleep sometime. No. So I'm always asked, my guests about their journey, because a lot of people are seeing this, not a finished product, but you know what I mean? Like you're who you are right now. And everyone, to your point, looks at it and says, oh, that's so easy for Steve, or look how great, I could never be like that. So let's roll back. Let's roll back to maybe, high school, junior high, and then your journey from then to now. If we roll back and look at Steve in 9th grade or 10th grade, what's similar to what what's stayed with you this whole time, and what's a little bit different or evolved or changed from Steve during this journey?
Oh man, going back to high school. Well, I was always a social guy. I mean, and I knew what I wanted to be. I think my two brothers and my dad, they were engineers. So I was always on the path, being the baby of the family. I just said, well, I'm going to be an engineer, and went to college at Mizzou and got an engineering degree. But I knew I didn't want to be that guy sitting behind the desk based on, I was that guy throwing the parties, right? I mean, I was a party guy. I was a social, in engineering. One of the favorite interviews I had, I went to engineering sales interviews at Mizzou. And I always remember this question. It was kind of funny. They go, you're an engineer by degree, but you want to go into engineering sales. Why? I said, well, those engineers that went engineering jobs, they built and added more power to the stereos. I'm using them. So that was my answer to get into sales. So that was how I got my first sales job, actually. So, but anyway, I just knew I was social. So my first 5 years of my career, I got in engineering sales. And back in those days, I mean, again, I've always used a CRM. I used ACT. Remember that? ACT? That was my first CRM tool right out of college that I used. There was also Goldmine. There was Leapfrog. There were just all these CRM tools that I used. Then a buddy of mine, I had several different jobs in engineering, just coming out of college. But then I got in medical. And I'll tell you what, that was a huge transformation to go from engineering into medical. So I got into pharmaceuticals, like what many people do. But in pharmaceuticals, I just, I was young and I got bored. I just got bored. There's usually a part in, I always say, everybody's life where you like, is it a job or is it a career? And I think a mentor told me that way back when, like, you're in job mode, dude. You're not in career mode. And I just wanted to be better than that.
Explain for the audience what you think the difference between job mode and career mode is.
Well, job mode for me is I just get up and I go to work and then I'm done. I can, I was never dedicated to my craft, my profession. I would take off early, or, I wasn't just in the game with those companies. I mean, quite frankly.
So you weren't learning, you weren't trying to figure out, so you were punching the clock, so to speak. And not once you were done, didn't think about it till tomorrow morning when I punched in.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, again, you got to keep in mind, I was in pharmaceuticals, and pharmaceuticals back in those days, you could write your own ticket when it comes to, when you work. So it's a little bit different when it came to pharmaceutical sales back in the day. But when I challenged myself, and I always said that, in the pinnacle of a pharmaceutical rep is to get into surgery. So that was my goal. And when I got my opportunity to work at Medtronic, that was like my dream job. I was in the OR. I was doing neuropathic pain, back surgeries. I was doing deep brain stimulation for Parkinson patients. I mean, I wasn't a doctor, but I played one on TV. I always say, it was, but to see patients get a therapeutic response to whatever therapy I was selling, that's what I did for, between pharmaceuticals and then Medtronic. And then I was testing, well, the Medtronic was a little bit different, but I learned, okay, this is probably where I learned that a job versus a career. Okay. So I got let go. What I learned was at Medtronic, it's hard to defend 90% of what you got. I mean, just think about that.
What do you mean by it's hard to defend 90%?
Well, when you're a big Fortune 500 company and you own 90% of the market, to get that 91%, that's hard to do.
Right.
So, big companies, could let people go. And this is where my career started in the world of startups. So the last 15 years of my life have been all startup companies. So when I got let go, it was just when the market was crashing with the housing and things of that nature. But no, I came across a company called Dynalabs. It was in the St. Louis incubator spot. And I grew that company over 5 years. And it was just, I couldn't say drug names, didn't know the therapy of the drugs. And here I am selling compounding pharmacies. But that's where my career started, I think. I mean, I think everything else was just a job. But when you got to work for a startup and you could get passionate, you were Army of One, the whole company, the pressure was on me to go out there and grow the company. And that was that challenge that I guess I still to this day could not, I can't replicate that. I don't know what you would call it, just that, the challenge. I mean, it's really all it is. It's the challenge of growing something. And so I did that at 2 different companies in medical. But when my buddy came to me and he knew I was a CRM advocate, because I used CRM all throughout my career. And hence he said, hey, do you want to get out of medical and get in cars? I'm like, you freaking kidding me? I could go to the Mayo Clinic. I could go to John Hopkins. I was out in California when Michael Jackson passed. You know what I mean? I mean, just little things like that when he passed at UCLA. But I just think about like, there's no way just what's the head trash of car salespeople. But when he showed me the CRM, I'm passionate about CRM because that's what really catapulted me in my career is I've always leveraged the CRM. So I'm very passionate. That's why when I got in CRM, didn't know a clue of anybody. I wasn't giving dealers names or networks or things like that. I let my video, I just went out there. I sent a ton of video out there, put my face out there because that was one of the differences of what I could do in a CRM. And there I am. I mean, everything else is, it's built relationships. I've just been fortunate enough to be in this business now 7 years with a startup company where we had 35 rooftops and now we're at 700. It's a lot of hard work, blood, sweat, tears, crying with owners and partners. And I mean, it's just been a fun journey. But now that I'm 50 years old, I told my wife, this is my last startup, so I'm done.
Yeah. But you know what? You say that, but what I'm hearing is it's finding that challenge. And I think that's something for all of us and for anyone who's listening. If you feel like you're in career mode, in job mode versus career mode, if you're don't have that challenge to get better or feel that you can have an impact, and that's what you want. Now, again, if you have a job and you've convinced yourself that's my career and I make X amount of dollars and I'm very happy, and that's phenomenal. I always say, if that's your goal, to make whatever, write it down on a piece of paper and you have your freedom and you're good, then phenomenal. Then maximize what you're doing, be there, don't slough off, but then also don't complain that you don't you want something else, right? But I think for you, what's really important for everyone to really latch on is that having that challenge, having that's what drove, or maybe I wouldn't say drove. Would you say having that challenge focused everything that you did before? Because it sounds like you were always social, you were always a hard worker. It didn't seem like you were not willing to put in the time and the effort, but something was different when you went to that startup where there was that sense of maybe being more out in the open. Do you think?
Well, there were
like you're
signs.
exposed or responsible, huh?
I think there were signs. If I go back and I look at my journey, and I think these are all things that I think salespeople, or just anybody for that matter, there's signs throughout the course, probably in your 20s to 30s, where you're going to have a sign. So I remember when I first got married, for example, and again, these are big company mentality. I remember having to sit at home and wait for a phone call to see if I had a job. Okay. And those are never time. I just got married. That I'll tell you what, there's nothing more stressful. And, I've been laid off a couple of times just because of downsizing with big companies. And when I got let go at that last time I mentioned at Medtronic, and I found the world of startups, I would tell you, if I was to go back and kind of, help encourage maybe younger folks right now, where would you start as a job or to start thinking about a career earlier? I would always challenge you to think about startup companies. And if you go into a startup, and let's say you're going into sales or you're an engineer or whatever profession you may be, you're going to learn so much because you have so much responsibility. You're going to wear a lot of different hats. You're not expendable like you are at a big company. And I always tell salespeople, if you're young, go to startup. A lot of the people we hired at our companies were always young. And I knew I was leading the ship in sales. And I'd say, dude, it's a hard ride. It's a hard ride. But man, give us a couple of years and you're going to love it.
Right.
You just got, who's leading the ship, right? That's what's going to be dictating if the company is going to be successful. But that's what I would tell young people is kind of look at, what's happening. But at some point, there's going to be a shift and signs that are happening to you that's going to alter your job thinking to a career thinking mode. So.
Yeah. And I like that because I agree with you. I've been in smaller companies. My wife always says to me, you've never worked for a big company, never. Oh. Never have. And she built her, she has two very successful careers, she led two large companies, divisions. But she said there's a lot of, politics, and there's a lot of different where for smaller companies, you have a conversation just like we are, and okay, let's test it. And off we run. And versus meetings, more meetings, maybe not, focus groups. And 6 months later, nothing's still happening. And I think you're right. To really get a sense of what you like or what you don't like, being in that small environment, you're going to be at the table for all of these conversations. And you're going to be understanding what the finances are or the development of the product are, because they're looking for your feedback from what you're doing and talking to customers. When you get into those large companies, those processes, those walls have already been built out, and now you're in your silo. And so You're right. You don't learn. You just have to come in and perform that one task, do it really well, but that still doesn't protect you. But in that initial phase, you're right. Everybody needs everybody in order to see if this is a viable thing. I love that. I love that feedback for people to, get into a startup, if that's what you're looking for in your career, if you're unsure, to test and try so many different things. But you got to still have that passion, what you said. Demetrius Naylor, I just interviewed him the other day, and he always said, hard work is the differentiator, right? That's it. You got to work hard. You have to put in the time and do the work.
And and look, there's just different points. If you're married, you got a family. Like, look, a couple of startups I had no insurance, Glenn, no insurance. Can you imagine that? So again, there's risk, but there's reward. So it's really all about, if I was single again, though, and I could do it. I mean, again, I was a healthy kid, but those are going to be things that you got to think about, depending upon, who you are. Those are the risks that I took, and they paid off. And yeah, I'm still young at 50, but, I keep thinking about, the other two startups I've got. They're very successful. One just sold not too long ago, and the other one is proven success. And then, the one I'm at is still proven to be successful, and we continue to grow. And I was just going to say, like, instead of defending 90%, I'm taking 90%. And that's a big difference when you're coming in sales is like, when we have in the automotive industry, there's like 18,000 rooftops, I think is the number that I was always told. So we started out with 35. Well, now we have 700. We're not at that 10% mark, but we're inching up to that.
Yep.
And and that's what I mean. It's easier to take market share away from the big boys. And then those bigger companies are probably reorganizing, and they hire an outside firm and they let people go. And you've seen it in the industries, but that's notoriously of big companies. And I never want to put my family at risk. I've never in the last 15 years ever had to wait and see if I had a job. And I can't tell you what a peace of mind that's been.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. That's a great way. And that's a great way to wrap up this topic about career and job mode, because I think that's a really important topic, because I think many people confuse. They think they're in a career. It's really a job. And it's not that it can't be a career. It's your attitude towards it, right? You can have a career in automotive, or you can have a job in automotive. You can have a career in sales, where you're moving and learning and growing and taking on more responsibility, or you can have a job in sales. It's just your focus and what you're trying to do. So I really like that. So
let me just say one more thing about that, because I think this is what's key here is when you're in career mode is you put the extra effort and people recognize the effort. It's not always an 8 to 5 or 9 to 5. It's the extra effort. You're willing to do extra things. And those are things that, you can ask yourself, are we doing these things? And that could be just job mode versus career. So just little subliminal.
Yeah, I think, and again, I go back to what Demetrius in the episode he talked about was every day just saying, can I do a little bit more? Can I get a little bit more? That's career mode versus job mode, which is what time do we finish? What time's lunch? If those are the high points of your day, if I come in and I'm worried about what time are we eating and then what time are we leaving, probably in job mode.
Job mode. When's break time? When's your break time?
How much
PTO? Is it 5 o'clock yet?
Yeah, I know exactly. That's job mode. Okay, so at the end of every episode, so first off, I want to thank you for being here. This is fun. Like I say, these conversations just roll, and I could sit and chat with you always, always, always. So at the end of every episode, I ask a few random questions. Don't have to do with anything that we've talked about. Get to know you a little more. They're called the one. So whatever one thought, one word answer, what pops into your head, that's what I want to hear.
Scary.
It can potentially be scary. All right. So we'll throw this one out first. Something you've been reading or listening to or watching that has been inspiring to you that you would recommend to the audience.
We're right now as a company reading a book called Spin Selling. So
Spin Selling. Okay.
Spin Selling. So that has been, like I said, I've been in a lot of sales training and things like that over my career, but there's definitely a couple of good techniques. I mean, I always say is anytime you read a book or listen or watch a video, and I'm not a big book reader, so I'm doing the audio version, but yeah, just taking some of the tips and tricks as far as different types of questions to ask customers to make him more fans is one of the key takeaways I love in that book.
Great. We will put that, we'll throw it into the show notes. And then also we've been, since it's the end of the year, I've been taking all of the book recommendations that the guests have offered and pushing them out there. So this way people can pick them up. All right, next question. You like to travel. Where's one place that you have not been to that you would like to go to?
Well, I'm always going to say Switzerland, man. I want to ski the Alps. That's my dream place to go, or Ireland. But if we're going to say here in the States,
no, I would love it. But go ahead.
Okay,
go ahead.
Well, I would say Maine or Montana.
Okay, you're sticking with the letter M. We like that. We're letter M.
I've never been to Maine. I'd never been there. So
okay, what is one piece of advice that a mentor gave you that has always, it doesn't even have to be a mentor, could be, that has stuck with you and that you always go back to and remember?
Yeah, no, I think I said it on this, is head trash. Head trash, by the definition that I was given, is especially in sales, or it could be anything, is your mind is beating you on what you should be doing. So for example, I just don't want to go to the gym today. You're mentally talking to yourself, and then what do? You don't go to the gym. So, in sales, a perfect one was, I was just in Nashville not too long ago, and there was a dealer that told me no. It's a big organization, but I went down there and I was like, hey, I'll just stop by and say hello. And I stopped in there and he said, you know what? We're putting you back on the books in January. But the head trash, when I was down there, said, man, why would I go see somebody that told me no? You know what I mean? And you just never know. So I always learned, don't listen to head trash. If you're thinking about it, do it. So head trash could be, I don't want to call this person, but you're thinking about that person, call them.
Right.
Just never know. Don't let your head trash dictate your decision.
It's very funny you say about calling that. I always joke when I butt dial somebody.
Yeah.
I call them back, or I talk to them. I said, there is a reason that I hit your number.
There you go.
What's going on? So you respond to that. But I really like that about head trash, because we do get caught up into the should haves. I should be doing this. And that's because also we let outside influences that we see, especially on social media, and we think someone has it better than us, or they're working harder than us. And really the only thing you really can focus on is your own action. So I really like that. All right, 2 more questions. One is, if I brought all of your family and your friends, close friends who know you, into a room and asked them to describe you in one word, what do you think the one word they would use?
Infectious.
Infectious. I like that one. Do I have to wear a mask around you because you're infectious, or is
I affect everybody around me? And actually, it's so here's the funny thing. It's the reason why they would always say that is they know that's my interview question. So typically on an interview, if somebody ever says, what's one word to describe yourself? And it's so funny, my daughter actually just said this on one of her interviews and she stole it from me, but I always say infectious. And the reason why is nobody else will say that. And literally you went to the dementia that I knew you'd go into, should I wear a mask around you? Yeah. But it's going to alter the question right back. And I say, I affect everybody that's around me. So anyway.
No, that's my word. See, I love that. I love always breaking that. I when I coach people on interviews, I always try to ask them to ask a question of the person who's interviewing you, because they fall into those questions. Well, what do you think? Where do you see your company in 5 years? Like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So I always give them a question to say, why am I here? Like, why are we doing this interview today? Why now? Why not 6 months ago, or why not 6 months in the future? What's going on that you're trying to do this now? And that wakes people up. The interviewer goes, oh, well, this, and it unlocks the conversation and allows you to sort of understand their mentality of why they're looking for someone right now. Is it growth? Is it someone who got fired? I think that I like doing that and I really like infectious. I think that's a good one. And it does describe.
Nobody will ever say it other than me, man. Nobody will ever say that.
Well, your
word.
Daughter, she's just proved that.
That's
will,
right.
So
she stole it though. She stole it.
Well, at least it's in the family. Okay. Last question before we wrap up. Talked about a lot of things. If you said to the audience, or had hoped that the people listening to this took one thing away from this, from the whole conversation, the one thing, and you're going, Glenn, I hope this is the one thing they took away, what would that one thing be?
Well, again, for salespeople, I think they have to define who they are. And, I told the story. I got my dog. He's like scraping the floor. So if you hear that, that's what
that's
that
all
is.
right. Dogs are all right. You're welcome.
But hey, stop. No, in sales, I always say, be yourself. Everything that I'm doing right now, this is who I am. I'm not trying to be somebody I'm not. Who I am from an integrity perspective, character, you're going to decide that. And that's how you're going to be reflecting yourself. Gosh, that's really bothering me, man. But that's what it's all about in sales. But, I think the thing that I always try to inspire people to do is be the best that you can be. You're going to find out who you can be through your journey of life, and whatever's going to make you passionate, you're going to learn that through the course of your career, and find out what that is. And a lot of jobs may tell you who you are, but when you choose your career path, do it with passion, do it to the best of your ability, use the right tools available to you, and don't be scared. If somebody says, hey, we're doing video, and that person's number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4 in your district, and you're number 10, and you have to grow, listen to the people that are excelling. And these are some of the things that I've done in the course of my career that have expedited my growth. I mean, believe me, I've gone through some challenges. I'm not sitting there saying I got a silver spoon, but when you're in startup, no insurance, family, I mean, there's been a lot of challenges. So work hard and be a part of the industry you are in, and, potentially be a thought leader, be a part of your company, be an expert, just invest, study it. I mean, like I said, it's like I've been in 3 different careers: engineering, medical, and now automotive. And I can tell you, like, I wasn't too keen in my engineering days, but in the medical days, yeah, I mean, I could speak therapies. I was like a doctor, right?
Right.
As I said. But now in automotive, I'm this engagement expert. I'm a CRM expert. And people just say, tell me how you did it. And, I just appreciate the stage, but I hope somebody took that away and just improves their life. And got any questions, they could always reach out to me and talk about pivotal times of their life. And I'll be more than happy to give them some thoughts.
I appreciate that. That's great. And so listen, Steve, I appreciate that. That's some really good stuff, because it ties right back into what we were talking about, career and job. And the more that you are invested in your company, invested in your career, and you're constantly learning and being present and giving, that's what's going to lead to success. It's not always easy. It's not, like you were saying, not silver spoon. There's going to be ups and downs, but at the end of the day, if you always fall back on my willingness to learn, my willingness to work hard, be open, you'll get through anything. So I do appreciate that. So listen, thanks so much for being here. Really, like I said, I'm just so glad that we have connected, and we chat a lot, and we see each other, and we share a meal every once in a while. But I am so happy for your success. It's just, all the hard work, you really are making a difference. And that's really impressive and fun to watch. So tell everyone how they can connect with you online and where to find you. Folks, you should be connected with Steve. So where can they find you?
Well, on my background here, you got all my handles on all my different social medias. But if they want to connect up with me on LinkedIn, I mean, probably that's been the platform I've used the most, LinkedIn, for professional. So you can always look me up, Steve Roessler, obviously, on LinkedIn. I just created the Live with Drive Guy channel on TikTok. So if you want to have some fun with videos, there you go. There's my TikTok handle is the Live with Drive Guy. But yeah, I mean, those are the best ways to get a hold of me, through social media. Awesome. Okay. So again, appreciate your time, audience. Please connect with Steve. He is someone who you should follow and learn from, and he will answer if you do reach out, and he will always be someone to help you. He is that type of a gentleman. So the drill, folks. Listen, subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple, or if you're an Android user, over on Spotify as well. You can always jump over to the YouTube channel and watch the conversation with Steve and myself. If you did find value today, please make sure you share it out. I'm sure there's someone who could benefit from what Steve just told you. I know there's a lot of places for you to watch and consume content. The fact that you spend some time with Steve and myself today means the world to me. I really do appreciate it. As I say at the end of every episode, you're in charge, but now Steve gave you a few more tips and tools to help you become better, both professionally and personally. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Steve, thanks again. Have a great holiday season. You got it.
Look forward to seeing you, my friend.
You got it, buddy. Thanks again.
See you.